Hello. Hopefully it's working, and I am now live on all of my right channels. Let me just check. I'm absolutely convinced that I'm always on the wrong channel on Facebook now. On Facebook, on YouTube. Hello, good to see you all. Wow. Nice to see you. Hello. Wow, hello, nice to see you. Oh, so just so you know, people joining on Instagram, you're all getting bunched up, unfortunately, so I can't see individual names, but hello to everyone joining on Instagram. Hello, nice to see you. Salam, salam. Nice to see you. I'm learning some of my Persian, so salam, salam. Okay, so yeah, I'm learning my Persian. I've done it. Salam, salam. Hello, salam. Tudo bem, obrigado. Oi, tudo bem, obrigado. Bonjour de la France, bonjour, ça va bien? Ciao, tutto bene? Oi, Urati. Hola, hola, ¿qué tal? Hello. Hello, everyone joining. Nice to see you. Oh, wow, I see a lot of people joining. It's good to see you all. Ciao, tutto bene? How are things going? Nice to see you all. Yes, you can ask me a question. Of course you can, Fatimia. Ask me a question. Okay, let me see. Hello, hello. Ciao, tutto bene? Hello. Hi, Swati, hi. Wow. Let's see. I'm very well, thank you. Greetings from Italy. Thank you very much. I'm very well. It's been a long day. I've had a lot of things going on at work, and also I've just come out. I've just been out very quickly to go and see something. Do I know Persian? Okay, so I'm learning Persian now. Actually, I'm learning Persian. I've been learning it for the past, well, almost a week, I think it is. And this is my book, my Persian book, Le Persan en peine. J'adore le Persan. I love it. It's really cute. So I'm here at the moment. Okay, so it's going to take me a little bit of time to get to a point where I can actually speak to you but hopefully we'll get there, and it will just take time. I write out all of the dialogues, and I write everything out. So I do this every day. I'm usually doing, at the moment, I'm doing it in the evening. So before I go to bed, I make sure I do my Persian, because fortunately during the day is a little bit difficult because I have a lot of work as well. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Ydych chi'n siarad Cymraeg? Ie, dwi'n siarad Cymraeg. Yn Llydaweg. Yn Llydaweg? O, dwi ddim yn gwybod. Let me see. How many days in a row do you recommend study a language? So I would say that if you're studying a language, I say that as a minimum to actually do active study, it's a minimum of 2 times a week, twice a week for active study. So pick days normally that are separated out. And I think it's important that what you do then, if you're just doing 2 days a week, then you also revise what you're doing throughout the week. So that for me is the important thing to do. Even if it's only 10 minutes, revising what you've done. Yes, hello, wow. Okay, let me see. We can put on the language, then we can be sure it's time to start another. So for one language, do you want to, so Fatima, so for example, with one language, when you feel that you're confident to speak, normally for me, when I feel that I can speak on topics, that's when I feel confident to take on a similar language. Now, I will do more than one language at a time. So because of all of the fabulous people from Iran who are now following me on on Instagram, I decided that I just got so much love from everyone in Iran. I was really, really happy and impressed. Persian, and that's why I picked it up, because for me, I need that kind of motivation to learn a language. And I'm also learning Maori, which is a language from New Zealand. So I started with this book here, which is Maori Made Easy, and I can do these two at the same time. Maori and Persian are very different languages, so I don't really confuse them. The sounds are very different. It's not really a problem. What I do find, though, is that with Maori, I do Indonesian lessons as well to revise my Indonesian, but Maori and Indonesian share quite a lot of similar sound interference a little bit, with the two languages, but the words mean different things. But yeah, I mean, you just have to see if it's a big problem and you can't, it stops you communicating, then I think maybe it's time to leave one for a little bit and then go back to it later. But if it's working, and sometimes it work, so just go for it. If it's similar language, I don't know, say Spanish Portuguese or Italian Portuguese, Italian French, the languages from the same family, I always say that it's good to get at least one of them in the family to a higher level where you feel very confident and comfortable speaking about a lot of things. Usually people would say kind of like a B1, B2 level. I'd say more of a B2 level. But B1 also can work. I mean, my B2 Turkish, for example, if I were to learn Azeri now actively, I think it would be challenging for me to keep Turkish and Azeri apart, but I don't think it would be impossible. Who knows? I may try it one day. I think Azeri sounds absolutely lovely. So yeah, why don't you start a YouTube channel? Zara, I do have a YouTube channel and I'm live on YouTube at the same time. So if you find me on YouTube, it's just Richard Simcott, and you should be able to find me on YouTube. And I share my things. So hello, ahoj z Česka, ahoj, jak se mám? Dobře? No dobrze, to jest polskie. Ahoj, jak se máš? Jak se máme? Dobře. Hello everyone joining. Wow, look at you all. Wow. Okay. Llydaweg, Breton. Brysonig, okay. Ja, diolch yn fawr. Diolch yn fawr. Na, dwi ddim yn siarad Llywadeg o gwbl. Sgen i ddim llyfr yma yr iaith yma, ond problem fawr i fi ydy efo'r iaith newydd fel Llydaweg, sgen i ddim efo neb yn siarad yr iaith y gwbl yma yn Macedonia. A deud y gwir, dydy'r problem fawr i fi. So are you learning the written form also for Persian, I guess that is? Yes, I'm learning to write as well. And so I have, what I'm doing at the moment, because Persian doesn't have, you write it without the vowels. So this is my Persian writing at the moment. I put the transliteration just for the vowels, but I can actually read fairly well because I studied Arabic before. And I can read the Arabic script without too much trouble. I'm not perfect, of course, but I can read it. It's not a big difference. There are some different letters, obviously, in Persian, like this one, which is the sh. So this is a new letter, but otherwise, yeah, I mean, a lot of the letters are similar. Like salam is the same, and you can see. So this is kind of what I do. I sit and write out all the dialogues, and that helps me to kind of memorize the words. What I'm finding with Persian is that there are many words that I know from other languages. So so the word for this center of town is markaz, and markaz in Turkish is merkez, and the word for city is shahir in Turkish, and in Farsi it's shahr. So Markez Ashahar would be the town center. Dar, Markez Ashahar. What would I say? That's Raftam is I went. Yeah, Raftam. Man be Markaz Shahr Raftam. Is that right? I went to the center of the city. Okay, hope so. When you think about, do you speak better language while being drunk? I don't know if you, it's a good question, but I don't think that you think that you're speaking better when you're drunk. I don't drink alcohol, but I think that, yes, people often say that they think they speak better when they're drunk, but I think probably if they recorded themselves, they'd notice that they possibly weren't speaking it so well. Hello, everyone on Facebook as well. Nice to see you. Ahoj z Česka, ahoj. Ahoj, ahoj. To jde, no, ale Kateřina Slovak. Kalispera, kalispera. Jak, kalispera ty kanete? Привет, Richard, привет, как дела? Хорошо? Hola, tudo bem, obrigado. Hello, tudo bien, gracias. What's this video about? So the video, as is, this video is about if people have questions about language learning, then you can ask me questions and I will do my best to answer. And I try and say hello to people. So hello. um, I'm having a good day. I'm having a good day. Thank you, Svetlana. Oh, that's very kind of you, Naveen. That's very kind. Thank you. Kalispera, and the French books. Is there an English version of these French books? So the French, so for Assimil, they do have, Assimil does have English versions of these, not for all languages, I believe, but for some of them. It also has versions in Italian and German. So if I show you, I've got some versions actually in different languages as well somewhere here. So I'll see if I can find them so I can show you. Actually, I may have a picture on my, so on Facebook and on Instagram, I've got a picture of my Assimil collection, so you can see which ones I've got. But also, if you go to the Assimil website, you can see what they have as well. What am I teaching, Naveen? I'm not teaching anything per se. I'm just answering questions about language learning. So anything you want to ask. I was thinking for these sessions, would it be good for me to pick a topic each week so that we talk maybe about a specific topic, like maybe, I don't know, learning to read, learning to write, learning to pronounce words one week, and then maybe another week could be something completely different, like raising children with many languages. It'd be interesting for you all. Let me know, write what you think, because I'm happy to sort of do that. What about South Caucasian region? Do you speak any Armenian or Azerbaijani? So Azerbaijani, I do understand some because I speak Turkish. Armenian, I studied a little bit, but I don't speak it very well. In fact, I did it because it's obviously another beautiful old language, and I like languages generally. So yeah, but I don't speak it very well. I'd love to learn more. Tip for learning Slavic languages. Language, it really depends on the Slavic language, but I'd say generally with Slavic languages, if you're not used to them, it takes time to get the words into your head. So repeating a lot is really important, and making sure that you learn the words that are important to you most at first. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, merci, merci. Love from Iran. Hello, wow, all this nice comments from Iran. That's very, very kind of you. Thank you. Merci. Have an interpreter. Right? There are schools that you can go to learn to be an interpreter, and there are exams that you can take. So in terms of doing that, I think you need to look at those kinds of things. But there are ways and means of practicing to do interpreting, and I know friends of mine who have done that online. So if you look for Amir, who's from Kazakhstan, on YouTube, you can find some of the things that he does, and he will take videos on YouTube, for example, in one language, and he will listen to them and interpret them to get the practice of interpreting. And I think if you're an interpreter, it takes a lot of practice. So I would say that is really good to do. You've been a translator from India. Okay, my main language is German, English. How can I get to interpretation? I think that's exactly it. You've got to maybe reach out and see how you can practice, get some experience. If you're not going through the school route, I think then it's an experience thing. I haven't actually worked in interpretation or translation myself. That's not my job. My job is in social media. And I work with languages, giving advice on different language and cultural projects. That's my day job. But yeah, they're the kinds of techniques that I do, and I say look out for Amir. How do you improve your speaking? Well, by speaking as much as I can, Zahra, really. I find it's really important to practice as much as I can, even though sometimes it is very frustrating. It's super. It just takes a lot of time to do it, but you get there, and it's one of those things that if you take the time and you invest your time and energy, you find that you really do get there, which I think is the thing that we all want in the end, right? It's the results. It's focusing on what you want to achieve, what you want to learn, setting yourself goals, and practicing and doing as much as you can when you can. Which is the first language you studied on your own? I studied a number of languages on my own. I'm trying to think, because I used to always buy books in languages when I was a child, and so I've always been sort of reading and looking at languages from a very young age. Um, I don't know. I had French at school, for example, but I don't think I really learnt my French in school as much as really went on my own. So I learned it because I was in France and speaking to French people, and I think that's when my French got particularly strong. Um, it depends on how much you think about the language in between those lessons, those 4 hours a day. It depends on which other languages you speak, and it depends on many things. So I can tell you that, for example, for me with Turkish, which is an unrelated language, except for in my home language of Macedonian, we have over 6,000 Turkish words. It took me a year and a half of doing an intensive class, which was 16 hours a week of classes, and then 20 hours of private study on my own as well. And it took a year and a half roughly to get to kind of a B1 level. So if that helps, then to get to a B2 level would be probably another year at least on top of that. So about 2.5 years to get to B2. But with Spanish, depends if you speak another language that's similar, you could feel or be working on a kind of a B2 type level a lot sooner. But that's how much it took. It's simply because of the amount of words you need to know. There are lots and lots of words in every language, and it takes time to learn them. ¿Qué tal? Estoy muy bien, gracias. ¿Qué tal? Exactly. So learning from different families or similar families it's easier. So yeah, do I know Arabic? I studied some Arabic, but I don't speak Arabic. I have studied it before. I studied it 3 times, in fact, in my life, and unfortunately not to a point where I've been able to start having good conversations in Arabic. Learning Persian, it would be easier. Yeah, the written. So for writing, I'm finding the writing is a lot easier because I've studied Arabic. Absolutely. Как вы сделали? Хорошо, спасибо, формально. Ich möchte meine 2-jährige Tochter auf Russisch beibringen. Wie könnte ich die Wochentage gestalten, so dass ich von beiden Sprachen lernt? Okay, sie von beiden Sprachen lernt. Sind Flashcards sinnvoll? Danke. Also für eine Tochter, also für ein Kind, nur 2 Jahre alt, so, das ist vielleicht Flashcards wäre eigentlich nicht so geeignet, so meiner Meinung nach. Ich denke, es ist besser, wenn man eigentlich nur mit Kindern spielt. Man muss eigentlich das machen, damit die Sprache eigentlich für das Kind sinnvoll wird. Und das heißt eigentlich, dass es was mit der Welt des Kindes auch zu tun hat. Das heißt, also richtig Spiele spielen und so Sachen zeigen und so weiter. Und wenn man sowas macht, dann mit Kindern, wenn man nur auch ganz natürlich spricht, dann werden wir das auch mitbekommen und lernen. Also so habe ich mit meiner Tochter zum Beispiel auf Deutsch und Spanisch gemacht. Sie hat auch Französisch von mir gelernt und natürlich auch Englisch und Mazedonisch. Und was wir, also tagtäglich, haben wir so 1 Stunde pro Tag genommen für Spanisch und Deutsch. Und wir sind ins Zentrum gefahren und wir haben eigentlich nur in einem Zentrum, da gab es in eine Ecke in so einer Kirche eigentlich, aber in einer Ecke in der Kirche gab es so einen Ort, wo man mit Kindern spielen konnte, also als Club sozusagen. Und das habe ich eigentlich mit ihr auch alles auf Deutsch gemacht. Also ganz alleine, ich mit ihr. Und wir haben auf Deutsch gespielt, also eine Stunde auf Deutsch und dann 1 Stunde auf Spanisch. Und dann dadurch hat sie auch beide Sprachen auch gelernt. Und sie war damals 16 Monate alt. Also knapp auch fast. Also ich meine, wie viel war das dann? 1,5 Jahre, ne? Also ein bisschen jünger. Es geht auch mit Kindern, die so 2 Jahre alt sind. Das geht auch. Und ist eigentlich sehr wichtig, wenn man mit Kindern spielt, dass die Sprache eigentlich, dass es nie eine Strafe gegen Sprechen gibt oder sowas. Es muss immer so was Positives sein. Ja, okay. Hoffentlich hilft es dir ein bisschen. So, hello, salam, salam. Where am I from? I'm actually from the United Kingdom originally, Dimitri. So, Stefan, hello. Wow. I'm getting a lot of messages saying hello, hello. So please, your English is amazing. Thank you very much. I really sound like a native. I am. I'm actually British, so I'm cheating a little bit with my English. My English is my first language. I'm an Arab. I'm an Arab. Read this. Okay, it's a bit small for me, but I'll give it a go. Man inti okay. And I can't see it, unfortunately. The script is so small on Instagram for Arabic that it's difficult for me to see the dots, so that I can't read it properly. But if you want to send me something, I'm happy to read it. I don't know if I'll be able to read it out very easily. Unfortunately, on Instagram, it's so small, the Arabic writing for me. And Farsi, I can see some things when I recognize them straight away, but it's a bit difficult for me, unfortunately, with the size of the font. Yeah, so what do I think about the MIA method? Oh, no, never heard of it, actually. Tell me what you think, what that is, Vanity. I'd like to hear more. Feel free to let me know. So this is not Arabic. Okay, fantastic. Okay, I started an Arabic YouTube channel. Fantastic, Olivia, that's good. It's good to have things with it's good to start Arabic and to start a channel with it, to present it. It's fantastic. Olivia, send me the link if you want as well. I'd be pleased to have a look at it. Eithiod mae Cymraeg yn wych. Diolch yn fawr. Dwi'n dod o Gymru yn reiddiol, gen i deulu o Gymru, a dweud gwir, ond dysgu'r Cymraeg dwi, ond eisiau ddysgu'r iaith achos, yn anffodus, wedi colli'r iaith yn y deulu. Mae acen andros o dda. Diolch yn fawr. Gog, dydy. Acen gog. Mae gen i. Okay, so let me see. I'm trying to read all of your things. So here we go. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Now talk 5 languages. Okay, I've spoken in probably over 5 here. Hello from Brazil. Hello, everyone. Okay. Dificuldades para você encontrou quando estudou a sua primeira língua estrangeira sozinho? Eu acho que para mim era um problema com somente para visitar, para também falar com a gente, porque era uma época quando não havia nada de internet, não havia nada de YouTube, de Facebook, de nada. Então era impossível falar com a gente. Então eu era sozinho numa cidade onde morava, estudava, estava com a minha família, não tinha com ninguém falar. Isso é uma dificuldade também para superar muito, muito grande, porque é muito complicado, porque de uma cidade sem internet, é uma época sem internet, sem tudo assim, temos as coisas técnicas que mudaram-se agora para poder fazer muitas coisas, para comunicar com muita gente no mesmo tempo. Agora, então, era muito diferente e tinha que ter também muito dinheiro somente para falar telefono com uma pessoa. E depois, na universidade era mais fácil, porque havia também internet e computadoras, então era fácil começar a falar com a gente. Okay. Let me see. So I taught 10 languages. Fantastic. Dimitri, that's really good. 10 languages and 7 dialects. Wow. You have to name those dialects. I think that's really cool. Kiswahili. Unfortunately, I don't speak Swahili, but thank you for asking. For alcohol, I've heard that it's just that it makes our anxiety. So people, exactly. Vanity, I think you're right. The alcohol, the topic, I think it's because it makes you feel less inhibited. And that's probably what it is. I'm just going to go back to here. Leonard here on Facebook is saying to me, with your work and personal commitments, do you have time to read books in foreign languages for pleasure? I've got to say, not that much, no. I don't get to read for pleasure very often. I tend to study more languages, and also things that I normally read, actually, I tend to be factual things. So new stuff. I listen to things on TV. So the languages I would listen to most or read most would be Macedonian, Albanian, at the moment, those two probably that I listen to most, and I listen to the news in Albanian most days nowadays. And then with studies, I obviously study a number of other languages too, and so I'm reading things, but not necessarily reading for pleasure, if that makes sense. Although, to be honest, studying languages for me is pleasure anyway. I really enjoy it, and I never get tired of learning languages. I just really, really like it. Hello, Victor. Hello, everyone. Wow, tudo bem? Wow, okay. Alcohol. Okay, let's translate the children's book. In Welsh, wow. Have you ever played around with Welsh? Victor, I just spoke Welsh, so I think maybe you heard me after you wrote this. Dwi'n siarad Cymraeg. Dweud gwir, dwi ddim yn siarad iaith gyntaf fi, yr iaith. Yeah. So, Richard, when you start learning a new language, do you know when you get good of how to put words together and relate them to other languages already know? Okay, so if there's a way that I know how to, yeah, okay. So when languages come together for me, yeah, basically, Christopher, what that means for me is that I can manipulate the grammar in a kind of a natural way and make my own sentences fairly naturally. At the moment, with a language like, for example, Maori, I've been studying this for months now, and not at the point where I can make sentences very naturally. It's just taking me longer to do it, and it will take a long time to get to a level where I feel confident making sentences. With other languages, sometimes it's quicker because they're more related, because of vocabulary or because of grammar or whatever else. It's just related language. So it really depends on the language. That's when I find that I'm feeling confident to speak properly, that I can speak and I have lessons every week in Albanian, Turkish, Greek, Indonesian, and yeah, they're the ones that I'm doing every week. Conversation classes, so I'm not necessarily studying the language a lot, but I'm just talking for an hour each time with those, and I can communicate. I make mistakes, and I'm missing some words sometimes, but I can communicate my ideas. The weakest one of those would be Indonesian, because I haven't studied it as much before, but I can still. I have a class, and I can talk about what I'm doing. With the other ones, I can talk more about things. I still make mistakes though, absolutely. Greetings from Liverpool. Hello, Christopher from Liverpool. Wow, cool. Nice to see people from back home online. I won't be back in Liverpool for a while, I don't think, now with all that's going on. Merhaba, Türkçe nasıl gidiyor? İyi. Haberler misin? Evet. Jeff, şimdi evet ben şimdi bir dersim var sadece, her haftada bir dersim var ve bu yüzden şimdi artık Türkçe çalışmaya başladım. Ama genelde burada Makedonya'da Türkçe üçüncü dildir ve virüsle daha zor oldu. Çünkü ben merkeze hiç gidemem ve bu yüzden hiç konuşamam. Ama televizyonla ve dersle Türkçe konuşabilirim ve ben çok merak ediyorum, çünkü bu dil bana göre iyice konuşuyor. Artık B1 sınavı yaptım ve geçtim. Ama çok fazla yok. Ve bu yüzden şimdi bana göre Türkçe çok iyi konuşmak için çok zaman lazım. Ve şimdi çok farklı dilleri öğreniyorum. Sadece Türkçe yok. Ve Yunanistanca ve Arnavutça de konuşuyorum. Hem yeni dilleri öğrenelim ve Şimdi evet ama Türkçe iyice gidiyor. Been watching your content for a decade. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Ian. That's really kind of you to say. Yeah, it's good to see you live too. I'm really glad that I could be live. I enjoy doing these live sessions. So for some of you wondering, why do I do it? Because I think it's fun to do this. It's nice to talk to people, and I get a lot of questions. So please do forgive me if I don't get to your question. I'll try and save them so that I can do. Do you speak any Scots? I don't speak Scots. No, I don't speak it. I can do a little bit like a Scots accent, but as nae Scots, like real Scots. I think it's more like an English mixed with a bit of Scots, but it isn't like real Scots. What do you think? Do you speak Scots, Martin? Yeah, but I really like it. I love the sound of Scott. And yeah, and actually I was hoping to properly study it. I'd like to learn it properly. I just know bits from being from the UK and having paid attention to just the Scots language. I've learned a little bit. Okay, so I have a question here. Good to see you live again. Could you speak a little bit about Anka languages, specifically in the Slavic family? What level would you recommend getting to for an Anka language? Yeah, so I've been learning Polish for 20 months intensively and want to start Ukrainian when suitable. Okay, good question, actually, James. So yeah, I put out a post about Anka languages, and just to sort of talk a little bit about that, what that means is in a language family, so languages, you have Slavic languages have different branches. So you've got on one side, you've got the East Slavic languages like Russian, Ukrainian, and Belarusian. And then you've got the West Slavic languages like Czech, Slovak, Sorbian, and trying to think of and Polish, of course. And then on the South Slavic languages, you've got the South Slavic branch actually divides again as well. So you've got Slovene, Serbian, Croatian, Bosnian, Montenegrin, and then you've kind of got as a slightly separate path from that again, Macedonian and Bulgarian. So, but they're all kind of in the Southeast Slavic group. And where the Anka languages come in, especially with the Slavic languages, because they are a bit similar in a lot of ways. So, you know, if you speak Czech and or Slovak, you can have a conversation. There is a quite a good degree of mutual intelligibility between the languages. Same thing goes for, you know, Ukrainian with Russian and Polish and Belarusian. There is a mutual intelligibility level, especially if you're a foreigner learning it. I think for natives, it's a little bit trickier, but as a foreigner, because we're used to bending our ears a lot more, we find it easier to do that. I definitely find that here in the Balkans, people find Slovene very difficult to understand, whereas I don't find it that difficult to understand, or didn't before I studied it. And I think it's because I'm used to bending my ear a bit more. So yeah, I would say that when you feel comfortable with Polish, you can start trying Ukrainian. And you'll find that actually some words will help you improve your vocabulary in Polish, because there'll be words that are in common but used in more poetic ways or in literature in Polish than not in Ukrainian. So I would say that try it when you feel ready, and if you do try it and you find that it's getting a bit mixed up, always just put a stop to it for a little bit and then go back to it a bit later and just work on your Polish. There isn't a definite level that I'd say that you have to reach to have it as your anchor language. I think it's when it becomes so normal that you speak it, that's when it just naturally is an anchor language. I mean, even with some of my anchor languages, every now and again, like my languages in Slavic was Czech, but sometimes it feels as if it's moving away a little bit. And I did an advanced diploma at the university in Czech, so you know I studied it to a fairly high level. But still, I mean, now I just spoke it a little bit before, and I noticed that in my head it was a bit weaker than I expected it to be, and I think possibly because I've been using Polish and other Slavic languages recently. I spoke Russian for over an hour last night, so maybe it's for that reason as well. But they do tend to, in their anchor language, they do tend to go back to the anchor language. So what I find is the anchor language is the one that all of the other languages, if you stop them tomorrow, they'll revert back to that language instead of the other way around, if that makes sense. But yeah, try it. Try. It's always worth trying, because as long as you feel comfortable in one, you're not going to lose it completely. Um, you watching any series now? Any series in different languages? So Jesus, I'm not watching any specific series right now. What I tend to do as well is I'll watch things from time to time if I find them interesting. I don't have so much free time for series, unfortunately. What I tend to do is any series that are on the Albanian TV channel here, I'll listen to in Albanian or Turkish, because they're either dubbed into Albanian or they're with Albanian subtitles in Turkish. So I'll often do that, but not because I'm interested in the series particularly. Often it's it's really not that interesting. But while I'm doing something else, I usually have it on in the background to listen to it. Am I interested in any African languages? Of course. So I'd love to learn some African languages. Just a moment, and plans to go to some more African countries. I would. So I mean, a lot for me depends on where I'm planning on being and what I'm planning on doing. So I tend to go for languages that I study because I've got a plan to do something with it specifically, or to go to that country where it's spoken. But I would love to. I mean, I went to Africa a few years ago, and I really enjoyed. It was my first time in Africa, and I went to the south, and I went to South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, just for a day, and then I was in Zimbabwe and Zambia, and I just loved it. I mean, Botswana was, for me, in terms of the people and how kind they were. I just thought Botswanans were just some of the kindest people I've ever met, and I really fell in love with Botswana. I loved Zimbabwe and Zambia for very different reasons, but Botswanans they're so different to as a sort of a culture. It's very different type of Southern African country. Just so sweet. Really sweet people. But yeah, I had a lot of laughs actually in Zimbabwe and Zambia too. Zimbabwe, and also I love that when you go to somewhere, like I was talking to people in Zimbabwe where I was staying near Victoria Falls, and they're like, well, yeah, I speak like 7 languages. I love it, of course. Yeah, of course. It's just a normal thing. It's wonderful. Saluton, Vidar. Salam, fantastic. Ĉu vi havas renkontojn pri traduktojn interlingvoj? Ne, mi tute ne laboras en ĝi. Mi laboras en socialaj medioj, kaj mi uzas ilin por mia laboro en aliaj lingvoj kaj aliaj kulturoj. Sed mi tute ne laboras en traduktoj kaj lingvoj, traduktoj. Mi tute ne faras tion. What's your vocabulary studying techniques for nouns and adjectives? So I would say that for learning vocabulary, I think that it's really important to learn things in context. Context really is king, and it really helps you to keep things in your mind. They learn things because of context is really important, and because you get to see them and use them. You want to see how you can conceptual learning 2 languages at the same time. Yes, it just depends. I would, if you want to learn 2 languages at the same time, it depends on your own availability. So you need to make time in your calendar and actually set time to do it for yourself. So yeah, I'd say it's possible. At university, I studied. So my degree is in 4 languages. My degree is in French, Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese. And I also did. I sat in on the Scandinavian Studies degree, which was Swedish and Old Icelandic. And so I studied those all at the same time at university for my first degree, and it worked. I mean, I came out, it worked, and I could use them for my job, and I worked with those languages. So yeah, it's possible. It just depends on how much time you've got to dedicate to it. What I always say is also language is not a race. So yeah, it's important to sort of do what you need to do, and not to worry too much about doing things because it sounds cool, because I think what you can end up doing is spreading yourself too thinly, and then you end up doing a lot of nothing, if that makes sense, because the more you take on, the more you try and do, and if you don't feel you're making improvements, it gets quite frustrating, I think. So it's often best to sort of just do what you need to do and focus on that first. Wow. Let's see. Wow. So hello everyone. Hello, thank you. I'm getting lots of nice hello messages here on different channels. So please do excuse me while I say hello again. A good book for Spanish, please. So what do you want the book in Spanish for? Is it to learn Spanish, you mean? So I would say I haven't studied Spanish as a foreign language for a long time. So the market is very different now than it was when I first studied. I learned it at school and then at university. So I've kind of been speaking Spanish for a long time, and I think it would be unfair of me to suggest a book that maybe is outdated. But I think it would depend on what you want it for. So if it's to learn Spanish from the very beginning, or if it's also whether it's to read or a reader to go with it, then it could be any number of books. Okay, I can't speak well, but I write acceptably. What should I do? So which language do you not speak very well? Zaksami? Skasami, which language is it you don't speak well? You think English or another language? It's actually fine. I've met people who learn languages because they want to write or read only, and they don't really want to speak. I find that for me personally, I like speaking. It's one of the things that I enjoy doing. But I also have friends who know languages very well, and they don't speak. They just read and write. So is it because you want to do that, or is it because you feel a pressure to conform to some maybe other people who are speaking? C'est très motivé, c'est gentil. Français, GB, c'est gentil. Je suis très content. Pronunciación, por favor. Vale. Entonces, para aprender a pronunciar las palabras bien, yo creo que está bien tener un profesor o una profesora, y también si tienes la posibilidad a registrar tu voz para ver qué tal y escuchar la versión original, también tu versión de la grabación, y grabando tu voz vas a escuchar, vas a oír la diferencia entre lo que tiene que decir y lo que dice. Y eso sí que es muy importante para cada idioma también. Yo lo hago de vez en cuando, si tengo problemas de pronunciación, lo hago para poder diferenciar entre sonidos, o a lo mejor si estoy haciendo fallos tontos para mí, para escucharlos bien, es que sí, grabo lo que estoy haciendo y escucho. Y también pido ayuda de mis profes, porque siempre tienen algún consejo para darme. Y también hay que fijar también en la lengua, la posición de la lengua en la boca, y qué estás haciendo. Tienes, por ejemplo, si están vibrando también está vibrando tu garganta mientras estás hablando, si es un sonido así, fijarte también en dónde se reproduce el sonido, dónde están todos los músculos, y hay que preguntar esas cosas. Si por ejemplo es un problema que tienes así, hay que fijarte mucho en eso. Exactly, how to become fluent. So fluency is really quite, so I think that fluency is really quite subjective. And I think that, yeah, I would say, yeah, fluency is a subjective thing. So it really is taking it bit by bit what you want to say, and practicing what you want to say and need to say for what's appropriate for your life, I think are the first steps in becoming quote unquote fluent. Because I think what people perceive as fluent more often than not is the ability to just maintain a conversation in a language without having to go back into another language. And I think that's probably what many people would say is kind of idea of fluency, and I think that's what you mean. If you mean something different, please do let me know. But I think that's normally what people mean when they ask me that question. I have to guess because some people have very different ideas of what fluency is. A book for Hebrew. So Dimitri, if you're learning Hebrew, I recommend like these books. You know, I've got one here on my this type of book for Hebrew is pretty cool. It's called Prologue, and this is the Ulpan course that they do, which is all in Hebrew. So, but they have kind of you can also download the app, and they have the app with the different the words and dialogues and the grammar and everything else explained. You can go through all of that. This is actually just all in Hebrew, this book. But they also have sort of other versions, but Prologue do some cool stuff for Hebrew. And the Ulpan course is probably, in terms of courses, like to teach a language to speak, it's really, really good because it was created for that reason, right? It was created for people to be able to communicate on a massive scale in Hebrew. So I would say that would be my recommendation for Hebrew. Siempre tenemos algo de ti, gracias, de nada. Muchas gracias por tu palabra. Al final podemos ser amigos. Muy bien, a ver. Boa tarde do Brasil, boa tarde. Okay, hello, salam. Iranische Leben, sie sehr, ja, ganz sehr. Okay, I speak Persian. I'm learning Persian. I think people ask me this. Good. I'm learning Farsi, so yes, I'm getting a lot of questions about whether I speak Farsi. I'm learning Farsi now. So yes, it's very nice. So thank you. So how to focus 100% to learn a language? My English is so bad. I want to focus and to learn it. Okay, so if you want to focus on a language, I mean, you need to make time. So what I always say is, it's always good to say you're going to do something before something else. And that means that you've got a time set and you can't wait for that to happen and then you do something else. Because if you keep on waiting and putting it off and you say you're going to do it after something or later, later never comes and you end up not doing anything. So always say you're going to do it either first thing in the morning or just before you start work or just before you have your dinner or just before whatever it is before, do it before and put a note in your calendar on your phone or on your computer so that you remember and you're reminded to do it as well. And that's really, really important. So here we go. Kaisoricha Tsermos. Tsermos Ongi. Ongi Eskerikasko. Tsermos. I find learning song lyrics and listening to songs. Okay, that's cool, Richard. I like that you do that as well. Yeah, I used to do that with Italian. So when I was at university, I found that learning Italian songs actually really helped me with my pronunciation. It also helped me to keep it separate from Spanish, and it also helped me with learning or getting the grammar into my head because they would use quite flowery language, so they'd use a lot of conditionals and subjunctives and things in Italian, which I thought was fantastic. So I learned like all of the Eros Ramazzotti songs, all of the Neck songs, all of the Laura Pausini songs in Italian. It's very cheesy for any Italians listening, I know. But yeah, you do definitely learn it that way. 我学习中文，我说一点儿中文不太好，因为在马其顿都没有中国人，但是我明白中文。So hi Richard, I always had motivation for learning languages because I was very motivated for 1 year, and by the time degrees, yeah, okay, so Shino, definitely there is always an issue with motivation, and that's one of the things that I talk about quite a lot. And I put out, things that motivation is really important, and the way to stay motivated, I think, is to set realistic goals and to not think that you're a robot and to expect something normal from your studies instead of what I see very often, which is I'm going to speak. I want to speak a language like in 3 days, and then I want to speak like a gazillion languages in 3 days. And unfortunately, life just doesn't work like that. And we need to sit and study. And it's possibly not the most popular thing to say, but it's the truth. I mean, I myself I've studied languages, sometimes I've lost motivation, and I've had to just leave them. But what I find really useful is to be honest with yourself is the most important thing in language learning. In fact, I find being honest with yourself the important thing in most things in my life. And that's, so for example, I'll give an example with Basque. Richard asked me how I am in Basque, and I know very basic things in Basque, but I don't speak it at all. And with Basque, I started studying it, but I was finding that I wasn't learning the words and doing this, because I keep telling you, right, do these 10 minutes a day, and I wasn't doing it. What happened was I didn't get anywhere with Basque. And I just said to my teacher, and I were talking, and she had something else that she needs to do right now. She's working on another project. We agreed that I'd take a break and see if I study it on my own for the next few weeks. So far, I haven't. I really enjoy it, and I really like the lessons with her. And I'd like to go back to Basque, but at the moment, no. And I don't blame myself for it, so I don't feel bad about it. It's sad in that I like the language, and I know that I like it, but I like so many languages. This is the problem. So you have to sometimes just focus, and you have to sometimes set yourself realistic goals. Otherwise, your motivation does decrease, unfortunately. And I don't think people often take this seriously enough. I think sometimes we say it, and people go, "Oh yeah, motivation, motivation. I want to learn it. I want to learn it." But it's not just I want to learn it. I want to learn it, and motivation, motivation. It's you have to work at being motivated to learn it, unless you've I don't know, you've got some really, really strong need to learn a language, especially nowadays, because you can just go into your own little bubble in English or whatever language with Netflix or with, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. You can just watch everything in any language you want. And the problem is it gives you a lot of choice, but mostly what happens is it closes off your world because you end up just sticking to one language. And that's kind of it. Whatever your language is, you kind of stick to it. I know people who have lived in countries for many years and speak a small European language, but they don't tend to improve that much, and they keep to their small European language because they can. It takes effort to move outside of of that area. So maybe some of the advice of set a time before you do something, and if you're not moving on with something, at least go over what you've already done until you feel very comfortable with it and you want to move on. Okay. Ты китаец? Нет. Молодец. А сейчас изучаю русский язык. Хорошо. Это нелегко. Нелегко. Нет, по-русски. Я думаю, что ты молодец. Ты пишешь по-русски хорошо. Это молодец. Это здорово. Да. Я хочу поехать в Россию. В Россию, хорошо, на учебу. Ага. А ты, я был в России. Окей, хорошо. Ты говоришь с Nathan. Хорошо. Okay. Sometimes I get comments here and the replies to yourselves, which is fantastic. Përshëndetje. Si je? Mirë. Në këlejtë. Mirë. Gjuhë Shqip. Më pëlqen shumë. Është në gjuhë shumë e bukur. Cześć. Proszę z Toronto. Cześć Wojtek. Jak się masz? Wszystko w porządku? Okay, let me see. Okay, very good. Okay, so I'm going to try and see if I can get through some of the other questions now before we finish. We'll be finishing in just 5 minutes, but I want to see if I can get to this one. So for B1 language, for me it took, so each level, what they say is for Turkish, for me, for example, it was 72 hours, I think, of study for A1, 72 hours of B2, A2, and then that was tuition. And then on top of that, 20 hours a week of study over the 3-month period for each level. And then for B1, it was double that, so a year. So I got half a year, so 142 hours of tuition, and then 20 hours a week on top of that of study over 6 months. Is how I got to B1. So it took me about over a year and a half, because I kind of took it a bit slower for the B1, but yeah, a year and a half roughly of really intensive study. I'm Iranian. I should be saying good work. Thank you very much. Okay. Hello, salam. I know salam. Salam, salam. Okay. Oh. Okay. Let me see if I've got any other questions here on Facebook, on YouTube. Okay. I'm just going to see if there's any other questions. Hello to everyone. Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate you. I appreciate this. Saying such nice things about what I'm doing online, and I hope that you find these sessions useful. I really enjoy talking to you. How old am I? I am 43 years old. Was ist am besten Sprache zu lernen nach Deutsch? Also nach Deutsch. Also es kommt drauf an, wo du wohnst eigentlich. Wenn du in Europa wohnst, dann würde ich sagen, ja, für mich war es eigentlich nach Englisch war es, so Englisch ist meine Muttersprache natürlich, also Deutsch, Französisch und danach war es, ja, würde ich sagen, so, ja, ich fand Niederländisch eigentlich für meine Arbeit sehr gut und auch Schwedisch, weil so wenig Engländer eigentlich Niederländisch und Schwedisch sprechen. Und dann würde ich sagen, auch Italienisch ist super cool für die Arbeit. Aber es kommt darauf an eigentlich, warum du die Sprachen lernen willst. Wenn du zum Beispiel eine Sprache wie, für mich zum Beispiel ist Mazedonisch sehr wichtig, weil ich in Mazedonien also zurzeit bin und dann hier wohne und meine Frau eigentlich aus Mazedonien kommt und das spielt auch eine Rolle natürlich und wir sprechen auch zu Hause Mazedonisch. Also es kommt immer drauf an, würde ich sagen. Ich meine, es gibt ja keine richtige Antwort für solche Fragen, aber ja, hoffentlich habe ich das so beantwortet. Hoffentlich. Have you learned any languages with clicks? And would you consider? I would indeed. Of course, I would consider a language of clicks. I would love to learn anything like that. Improve. Okay. To sound like a native speaker, I got a question here. I don't aim for that, being like a native speaker, because as a foreigner, you're never necessarily going to ever pass as a native speaker. And the reason is not just because of language. You could sound very, very good and sound almost like a native, but if you didn't grow up in the country, there's going to be a point in the conversation where you know certain things that a native speaker would know. I've just got a message saying that I only have 2 minutes left, or just the 2 minutes. Speak Swedish. Ja, vad borde jag säga på svenska? Jag vet inte. Det är för mig så jättesvårt att veta vad jag kommer att säga eller uttrycka det på svenska nu. För att går det bra så? Jag vet inte. Merhaba. Okay, hello. Okay, so thank you so much, Gamar Jobat. Oh wow, hello John, Gamar Jobat. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so I'm seeing that I've got a few more tones and fear of characters is the biggest thing. Chinese kind of works in a different way to European languages. It tends to be these patterns that you have to learn, like this plus this is this meaning. Roughly in a European language, and it just takes time to get used to it. I did Chinese at university, and it took me, it took a few semesters to start being able to communicate. But it was a lot of work, and it was a lot of fun. So I really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to go because I've got to my hour on Instagram. So I will finish this here. Thank you so much. Das war eigentlich sehr cool. Vielen Dank fürs Kommen. Thank you for coming. It was really, really nice to see you all, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.